Welcome back, Rainforest Explorers. In case you don't remember, my name is Alex, and I am kind of your safari guide, and I'm very excited to talk to you guys about how Jesus leads the way in our lives. And today we're going to talk about how he does it very clearly by giving us instructions for living. And those instructions are called the Ten Commandments. And you should have a sheet with the Ten Commandments on it in your Start Here folders, which were sent home with your starter packet. Those 10 commandments are going to look like a list of do's and do nots to us, and we're going to look at a lot of those things and go, well, that doesn't sound very fun if I can't do that, or, oh, that's pretty nice. I like the idea of people being told that they shouldn't murder. Or we're going to go, I don't know what honor my father and mother means, but if it means I have to clean my room when my parents ask without asking questions, complaining, or telling them when the last time I did it was, I know I don't like honor your father and mother all the time. I don't know what it is that you think exactly when you look at those, but what I do know is that all of us can find something in those 10 commandments that we don't do very well. We can also find something that we think we do really well at. One thing we know for sure is that those 10 commandments were written by God to his people, the Israelites, so that they could have a perfect relationship with him and with each other. And as we see in our world today, we do not have perfect relationships. We have failed to do what it is that Jesus tells us to. However, God loves us anyways. He gives us forgiveness. He sent his son Jesus to live a perfect life and die as a criminal to take our punishment as a sacrifice so that we wouldn't have to. How wonderful that God gives us that forgiveness in Jesus, who died for us and rose again. The reason why Jesus did that, even though we have failed to keep God's instructions and live perfectly and have perfect relationships with him and with others, is because we are God's treasured possessions. Our Bible verse for today comes from Exodus 19:5, and it says, "You shall be my treasured possession." Those are words that God actually spoke to a man named Moses. When he was speaking to Moses, Moses had just led the Israelites out of the land of Egypt, where the Israelites were being held as slaves. The Israelites were finally free, and they didn't know what to do next. God called Moses up onto this mountain, and he gave him instructions for how he wanted the Israelites to live so that they could have perfect relationships with God and with each other. As we know, they didn't keep them perfectly, and we still don't keep them perfectly today. But we are God's treasured possession, and he continues to love us, and he continues to forgive us. We're not supposed to look at that forgiveness as something that tells us, well, I'm going to go ahead and do whatever I want anyway, though. We're supposed to look at that as a demonstration of God's love, and we're supposed to say, you know what? I need to be better because of this love God has given me. And God says, hey, I'm forgiving you, and my forgiveness is a great sign of my love. And through seeing my love and through knowing my love and through understanding that I forgive you even though you are not perfect, you can start demonstrating some of that love. I give this to you so you can continue to give it. Through all those things, I am showing you great love that you can show to others. God gave us the 10 Commandments as a sign of his love. He knew we couldn't keep them then, and he knows we can't keep them now, and he forgives us anyways. And that forgiveness is not just a sign of the fact that it's all right, but it's actually God showing us the same love that we are able to show others. And the only reason we can do that is because God's forgiven us. Without God's forgiveness, we wouldn't know what it looks like to have love and show forgiveness to others. God has never done something wrong to us, but we have failed to keep his rules. We have failed to listen to his instructions that he gave us out of love. He gave us those instructions so that we could live in perfect harmony with one another. And the consequence of us not keeping them is that we don't live in perfect harmony with one another. But God forgave us. And his forgiveness gives us the power to do the same. So today, when we're thinking about how we are God's treasured possession, we should also be thinking about how others are God's treasured possession. I want you to think of some of the classroom rules that you may have had when you were in school. How did those rules point to the fact that we as people were supposed to live in relationships with each other that were full of love and respect? Were those rules always kept perfectly? I bet you it was hard, and I bet you they weren't kept perfectly, even if you didn't know that. But we had these rules within our classrooms, or we have rules within our homes, so that we as people can live in harmony with one another. Those rules normally come from a place of love and respect. We should have perfect relationships with one another. That's what God gives us the 10 Commandments for. That's what he's working towards. That's what he says, hey, I know the love that you should have. Here it is. This is how you do it. We fail that, though. We're still his treasured possession. And we need to be so grateful and thankful for the forgiveness he gives us. And we need to show that same forgiveness to the people in our lives. Because while God says, you are my treasured possession to you, he says the same to our neighbors, our friends, and our family. We are all God's treasured possession. And the core of his rules is that we should love God with our whole hearts. And we should love our neighbors as ourselves. So how can we do that in our world today? How can we show great love to one another in a way that changes the whole world around us? Because the reality is, if we were showing the kind of love that God tells us we should be showing others in the 10 Commandments, we'd be living in a perfect world. So how can we let the fact that God forgives us be something that encourages us to show great love to the people around us?